Hi friends, today we're going to review Skills 5, Lesson 14. Let's look at our learning targets. I can distinguish between the f and v sound in oral word pairs. I can read and write words with v spelled V and VE. I can read and write the tricky word picture. I can find two examples each of statements, questions, and exclamations in Kate's book. I can read The Hike and answer questions about key details in the story. Today, we're going to review the V sound as in van. Say V. V. A vowel sound or a consonant sound? Very good. It is a consonant sound made with the teeth and lips touching to obstruct the airflow. I'm going to say word pairs. The words will be very similar, but one will begin with the V sound and the other word will begin with the F sound. Say F. Say V. Awesome. Close your eyes, listen carefully, and repeat the word pairs after me. After each word, pick the word that has the V sound. Remember, you can touch your voice boxes with your fingers to feel the difference between the F and the buzzy V. The first two words are van and fan. Which word has the V sound? Van. That or fat? That. Vine or fine? Vine. Views or fuse? Views. Vain or fame? Vain. Or fault? Vault. Very good. I'm going to review the spellings for V. Let's look at my consonant code flipbook. Here I have two sound spelling cards. The first sound spelling card is the spelling V for the V sound. Our sample word is van. Let's look at our power bar. Is this spelling common or not so common? That's right, this spelling is very common. Let's look at two sample words that I have with the V representing the V sound. Van and vet. Let's look at our next card. VE. Is this spelling common or not so common? That's right, it's not quite as common as the spelling V. Our sample word is 12. Look at two more sample words. Sleeve and carve. Take out your individual code charts. If you do not have them, just follow along with me. In your code chart, you should already have the V spelling traced red. Remember, we trace our consonants red because the air is stopped or obstructed when we say consonant sounds. Let's trace our sound spelling card VE in our individual code charts. Very good. Turn in your Skills 5 activity workbook to activity page 14.1. You can find this on page 71. The box contain the sound V spelled V or VE. Go ahead and write your name and today's date on this paper. Remember, once we use a word, we'll cross it out because we'll no longer need it. Complete the sentences with the words from the box. Number 1, run and jump are blank. Run and jump are verbs. Run and jump are van. Run and jump are serve. Run and jump are river. Run and jump are 12. Run and jump are vote. Run and jump are never. Run and jump are vet. Which word sounds the best? Verbs. Very good. When I was blank, I went to camp. When I was 12, I went to camp. She will blank you a big snack. She will serve you a big snack. We took the dog to the, where do we take the dog? To the vet. Awesome. I went swimming in the river. Very good. You blank can tell. You never can tell. Number 7. Will you blank for me? Will you vote for me? Very good. And lastly, can we drive to the park in the van? To our learning targets. I can distinguish between the f and v sound in oral word pairs. I can read and write words with v spelled V and VE. I can read and write the tricky word picture. I can find 2 examples of statements, questions, and exclamations in Kate's book. I can read the hike and answer questions about key details in the story. Today, I'm going to be introducing a new trick. If you saw this yellow tricky word card and you tried to read this word, you would probably sound it out as p, I, k, t, u, r. Picture? Well, that's not quite right. In this word, the P, I, and C represent the sounds that we would normally expect. Pick. T-U-R-E is the tricky part of this word. The T-U-R-E represents the sound ch and chur. This word is picture. Our learning targets. I can distinguish between the f and v sounds in oral word pairs. I can read and write words with v spelled V and VE. I can read and write the tricky word picture. I can find 2 examples of each of statements, questions, and exclamations in Kate's book. I can read the hike and answer questions about key details in the story. We have learned about 3 types of sentences: questions, statements, and exclamations. Someone next to you a statement. Tell them a question. And now tell them an exclamation. We are going to hunt through Kate's book to find examples of each of these sentences. I want you to look back at the stories we have already read and find 2 examples of each type of sentence. Copy sentences you find onto a blank piece of paper. If you need to pause the video, that's fine. You can find examples from the story In the Cave, The Coin Shop, or The Campsite is another story we've read. Let's look at our table of contents. Today's story is titled The Hike. We can find this story on page 38 in our reader. What do you think the characters of today's story might do based on the title of the story? That's right, the characters will go on a hike. Remember, it was on a hike with Nan that Kate discovered a Spanish coin. Let's preview some spellings. Two-syllable words you may see in the story are morning, finished, and biggest. Consonant doublings are cliff, digging, popped, and running. Two tricky words you might see are picture and wood. Let's is a contraction. Remember that let's is spelled Let''S. It's short for let us. Let's review some vocabulary. Carve. To carve means to cut something away. A bit. A bit is a short amount of time. Drifted off. If something was drifted off, it was carried away or blown off. Today's story to find out what happens on a hike. The next morning, we went on a hike. After a bit, we stopped for lunch. When Max finished his lunch, he asked, "Can Kate and I look for rocks?" Jack said, "Okay." "Kate," Max said to me, "bring your fork. We can use it to dig up rocks." I grabbed my fork and we went off to look for rocks. Max pointed at a bump on the side of a cliff and said, "Let's dig that rock out." The rock did not look all that large, but when we started digging, we soon saw that it was larger than it had seemed. After a bit, Max said, "Gee, it must be 2 feet long. We need to keep scratching in order to carve it out of the side of the cliff." We went on scratching with our forks. "Let's tug on it," Max said. "I bet we can get it out by ourselves." And tugged it. It popped out, but so did a big cloud of sand and dust. Max and I fell down. Once the dust and sand had drifted off, I saw Max standing there with the thing in his hands. "It's not a rock," he yelled. "It's a bone." It was the biggest bone I had ever seen. It was 3 feet long. Jack and Nan came running. "Goodness," said Nan, "that is one large bone. Where did you get it?" Max pointed to the spot where we found it. Jack set the bone on the ground. Then he took a picture of the bone and said, "We need to get an expert to look at this bone and tell us what sort of bone it is." What does everyone do in the morning? They all go hiking in the morning. What do Max and Kate go look for after lunch? Max and Kate go look for rocks after lunch. Why do Max and Kate take forks with them? Max and Kate take forks with them because they can use the forks to help dig out rocks. How big was the bone that they pulled out from the cliff? The bone was 3 feet long. How do you think Max and Kate feel about their discovery? Kate and Max look excited, happy, and amazed. What kind of bone do you think Kate and Max found? Why? Tell someone next to you what you think. Take out your Skills 5 activity workbook and turn to page 14.2. You can find this activity page on page 73. Go ahead and write your name and today's date at the top. The hike. Number 1. When did Max and Kate dig up the bone? We're going to practice using text evidence to find answers to questions from the story. Let's look at page 38. It says when Max finished his lunch, he asked, "Can Kate and I look for rocks?" So when did they dig up the bone? Max and Kate dug up the bone after lunch. Make sure you cite what page you found it on. Number 2. What did Max and Kate dig out the bone? We went on scratching with our forks. Max and Kate used forks. I know because I found this answer on page 40. How long was the bone? The bone was 1 foot long, the bone was 2 feet long, or was the bone 3 feet long? In the story, it says it was 3 feet long. What page did we find that on? Page 42. Who needs to look at the bone to tell Max and Kate what sort of bone it is? In the story, Jack said, "We need to get an expert to look at this bone and tell us what sort of bone it is." An expert needs to look at the bone to tell them what sort of bone it is. Remember to cite what page. On activity page 14.3, you have a previous story that we've already read, The Campsite. Take some time and read this story to someone. Let's review our learning targets. I can distinguish between the f and v sound in oral word pairs. I can read and write words with v spelled V and VE. I can read and write the tricky word picture. I can find 2 examples of statements, questions, and exclamations in Kate's book. I can read the hike and answer questions about key details in the story. Happy learning!